Hey, Pastor Josh here. We're reading Genesis chapter 6, verses 17 through 22, and it is time for Noah to get on the boat. For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life under heaven. Now, I think this is a key thing to look at, is that it says, will destroy all flesh, which is the breath of life under heaven. So if we're thinking about fish and other aquatic animals, they would have made it through. They would not be breathing air. And so, as the great flood happened, I think the fish and all of those would have made it, and that's why those would have not gotten into the boat, gotten into the ark, as I understand it. And then it says, everything that is on the earth shall die. So all those land animals, all vegetation, all of that is going to be destroyed. Verse 18, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark. It's a promise for us to claim, because just as God made a covenant with Noah, made a covenant with his family, he has made a covenant with us. He's offered to be in a covenant agreement with us if we would but believe in Jesus Christ. So when Jesus died on the cross for our sins, he was shedding the blood of the covenant. Every time we take the Lord's Supper, every time we take communion, we say, this is the blood of the covenant which was shed for us. And so just as God made a covenant with Noah, that I'm going to get you through the flood and I'm going to take care of you on the other side, Jesus, God, has made a covenant with us. And he says, I love you, I will be with you, and I will give you eternity with me. You will get to spend eternity with me in heaven, and you will be with me on the new heavens and new earth when that comes in the great resurrection. So a great promise for us to claim, and God keeps his promises. He made a covenant with us, and he is going to keep that covenant. Notice it also says that it's not just for Noah, but he's made it for you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And that's important for us to remember too, is that the covenant that God has made with us, if we are Christians and our spouse is a Christian, we have a responsibility. Even if your spouse isn't a Christian, you have a responsibility to pass that on to your children and to the next generation. And that covenant is being extended even to our children and to the next generation. Verse 19, and of every living thing of all flesh. So God is not just making a covenant with Noah and the family, he's actually making it with all of creation. And again, this is tied up in the same covenant that he makes with us. God promises that the creation, that the world will be remade at the end of times. So God will destroy the earth. He's not going to destroy it with water. He's going to destroy it with fire. It's going to be burnt up. Perhaps that'll be a total destruction, or perhaps that will be just a burnt up where there will be a renovation of the earth. But there will be a destruction in the end, but there will be a new heavens and a new earth, as the end of the book of Revelation teaches us. So let's look at the command that God gives to Noah. And of every living thing of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark to keep them alive with you. The commandment to Noah was that he was supposed to keep these animals alive. This goes back to the original command that God gave Adam and Eve to subdue the earth, to rule over all of the animals. And notice it's a command of life. They're supposed to be taking care of them. They're supposed to be stewarding the earth and the resources that God has given them. And we have a similar command. The things that God has asked us to be in charge over, to watch over, we need to nurture it. We need to care for it. If they are living beings, they are people or animals, we're supposed to be watching over it. Perhaps if it's immaterial things or some sort of responsibility, we should see growth happen. We do not want to be one of death. We don't want to have a culture of death and dying, but we would rather have a culture of life and multiplication and growth and fruit and production. They shall be male and female. Of the birds of the air according to their kinds, and of the animals according to their kinds, of every creeping thing of the ground according to its kind, 2 of every sort shall come into you to keep them alive. Again, the command is for Noah to take care of the creation and to take care of what God has given them. Verse 21, also take with you every sort of food that is eaten and store it up. Notice there's a command for Noah to not be lazy, but to plan ahead, to store food for himself, for his family, and by implication for those animals that he's supposed to be keeping alive. And for us, we should be planning ahead. We should be taking reasonable actions to store up, to have things set aside for those rainy days, to have things set aside to take care of us when perhaps some of the years may be leaner and maybe the income is not what it's supposed to be or whatnot. We should have a savings account set aside. We should have something set aside in planning ahead and preparing for the future. That's what God told Noah, because God could have, couldn't he, have just miraculously put food on the boat. We know in Moses' time, when the Israelites came out of the land of Egypt, that God caused manna, bread, to come down on the earth. He could have done that for Noah, right? He could have done that, but in this situation, he told him you need a plan and you need to store up with you every sort of food. You need to plan ahead. You need to be responsible. Same command applies to us today. We need to plan ahead, set things aside, and be smart. And he says it shall serve as food for you and for them, for those animals he's supposed to be keeping alive. And what did Noah do? Noah did this. That's as a example for us to follow. He was obedient to the commands of God. He followed the Lord. You need to do that too. I need to do that too. And then we need to confess when we don't obey the Lord. Noah did it. He did all that God commanded him. And I pray that's what you'll be doing. I pray that's what I'll be doing. That we'll be doing that more often than we don't. I pray that's been a blessing to you, and I'll see you in the next video.